Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Unstoppable Women's League presented by Popsugar. My name is Proto. Joining me tonight is none other than the man himself, Spudoom. And we are back for another season of the Women's League. Spud, it's been a while, but we're back.
It has been a while, but this moment couldn't have come any sooner. No more siege break, though, of course, we have been watching other leagues, but this is the one where we are casting, of course, and where all the fun stuff happens. So, glad to be here. Of course, we have some great games coming up tonight, so make sure to stick around for the entire time because there will be 2 games going live. But first, let's take a look at the teams who will be playing, in our entire women's league. Of course, we have a wide roster of teams, some of them familiar faces, some of them returning from previous seasons as well.
Yeah, a couple of name changes as well. Obviously, Inferno, previously Volpez. Bliss as well, joining the fray as well as Fury. Benchwarmers, Triarii, Big Brain, and Viking Army returning once more. RDC2 there in the backside. But Spud, all the same. The teams returning, all of them amazing. We've seen them all before. And let's have a look at how things panned out after our first play day. Obviously, it was an interesting day of games, which we all got to see and marvel on. Unfortunately, a couple of reschedules. But after the first play day, Team Bliss, obviously, no surprises, taking home first place at the moment. Viking Army second, Big Brain third, and RDC in fourth.
Yeah, for those of you who aren't aware and haven't figured it out by now, Team Bliss is, of course, our returning champions, Warriors from last season. So they've got a pretty impressive record so far, of course, at the top of that leaderboard. But close behind, Viking Army actually only 3 points in terms of round difference. Not even points, rounds, that is. And Big Brain Esports also very close behind. Same with Radical Esports, Rebels, sorry. So really, it's anyone's game at this moment. And of course, this being a round-robin stage with playing each team twice, it means you have to be consistent. You can't just, get away with, tricking your opponents once. You have to do it at least twice. But for tonight, we're going to be seeing some great action here. We're going to be seeing, I believe, it will be Big Brain Esports versus Triarii Esports for our very first matchup. And in the background, we will have Viking Army versus Bliss, Benchwarmers versus Fury, and Inferno Gaming versus Radical Rebels on the other streams.
And for match number 2, Viking Army will take on Fury, while off screen you get to see the rest there below. Team Bliss versus RDC, Benchwarmers versus Triarii, and Inferno versus Big Brain going on elsewhere. So some interesting games, but obviously on the main stream tonight we have 2 pretty big hitters lined up for our entertainment. But Spud, let's see where game 1 is going to be going to straight away. Big Brain versus Triarii. Our first match for the evening is going to be, I think, an interesting one. And, well, when it comes to the map veto side of things, Spud, what are we expecting?
Look, we know that Big Brain Esports have a really wide kind of map pool. We've seen them play some pretty exotic maps and some pretty exotic strategies over the seasons. And of course, from last season, they will be keeping that same roster. So I assume a lot of those strategies will be carrying over. We will actually be going to Theme Park, which we noted in the chat beforehand that is actually quite an interesting pick. And especially for Triarii to allow that to go ahead.
Yeah, when we saw from BB last season, a very strong showing as well. So, as you mentioned, a very interesting choice to let that one through the veto, given that I would assume Triarii were watching the games last season. You'd hope they were anyway. Playing them, they definitely were as well. So, yeah, I think Theme is going to be an interesting one to kick things off at game number 1 here. Our first theme park for this season of the Unstoppable Women's League. So, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, I think, Spud. It's definitely going to be a good one to kick the night off.
Yeah, as we know, it usually favors the fence, and very much heavily so. And in fact, I remember last season for the third place match, it was Big Brain Esports against Radical Rebels, I believe, and they went to Theme Park. Big Brain Esports actually down 1-5 at the half switch when they started going on the defense, and eventually won that map 8-6. So it goes, a long way to show how kind of one-sided it can be, and the fact that Big Brain Esports will surely know what they're doing here. That if they can fight back from a 1-5, kind of deficit for a third place match, surely they have all the strats here for tonight's match.
Yeah, I mean, we look at the veto as well. Border and Chalet getting quite a deep way through the veto, with Villa being the second, well, the deciding map, I guess we could say, for Triarii. So they actually picked to go to Theme Park over Villa, which is a map that I would argue Triarii are a lot better at. Obviously, I don't think we've seen Triarii play Theme Park in the recent future, but correct me if I'm wrong. But if that is the case, BBE will then have to raise some questions. Are Triarii comfortable on this map? Have they been doing their off-season work like everybody else, putting in the time in scrims, maybe learning that map up to its full potential? I mean, we've seen it recently in leagues elsewhere, starting to make a bit of a resurgence for play. So maybe that could just be what teams are looking to go for in these recent times.
Yeah, I definitely recall Triarii did play Theme Park in their regular season,
Okay.
so it's certainly not an unfamiliar map to them, and certainly there's going to be a good reason for them to allow that to go all the way through. And as you mentioned, that off-season, huge time to be, working on those strategies, scrimming and all that. So definitely could have paid huge dividends there. Of course, the rosters still a lot of veterans here. Big Brain Esports, of course, they're the same roster from last season, so that synergy is still going to be carrying over. And Triarii, of course, still have a lot of players who've played quite a lot of our women's league as well. So, yeah, definitely experience on both sides to go up against.
We are just waiting on a couple of players, unfortunately, Spud, for the moment. Apparently, there may be some server issues. But at the end of the day, we love it. It happens. Tech issues are what keeps us alive at the end of the night. Keeps us on our toes, I guess we could say. But for game number one, I mean, what are we theory crafting, Spud? Score-wise, what are we thinking this one's going to look like?
I have to say, I think it's going to go in favor of Big Brain Esports, just based off the way they played their theme park previously, and also looking at some of the results from the previous week as well. Big Brain Esports, they got 2 wins out there, a 7-1 and a 7-3, so pretty dominant performances there, and that's certainly going to help with the morale. Whereas Triarii Esports haven't had such a good time, 0-7, 2-7, so definitely going to be at least struggling there in the mental. Hopefully, at least this week, they get a chance to kind of reset and pick things back up, and even getting those rounds on the board is certainly going to be helpful, because as we've mentioned, it's still early days, still a lot of work that can be done here, and still certainly those rankings for the top 4 playoff spots are still in contention here.
Yeah, well, given that it's only play day number 2, I guess not a lot has been shown strategy-wise, or at least on stream, I guess we could say. We've only seen 2 games as opposed to the 2 games each team played last week. So coming into this week, obviously things will start to maybe come out a little bit more strategy-wise, maybe a little bit more aggression on the board, different play styles. We might even see some people switching roles, something like that. But at the end of the day, we don't know until we get into it. And I think this is going to be a great map to kick things off for play day number 2, because it's one that allows for multiple play styles. Obviously, you can have sort of more of an aggressive style. You can be very sort of site heavy. I mean, we look at sites like Armory Throne Room, arguably one of the most defender-sided bomb sites we have in the current map pool for competitive R6. And these girls definitely know how to play bomb sites like that to their fullest. So I definitely think opening things up, depending on what team gets defense first, which I do believe is BBE, if I'm not wrong. Either way, things are going to be scary for that attacking side, provided they don't end it with a 4-2 in their favour.
Yeah, and of course, Theme Park was in the Pro League map pool a little while ago, and then it got taken out, and then recently it's been added back in, and it's a fresh addition. It's a breath of fresh air compared to seeing the standard Clubhouse, Oregon, things like that. And even Chalet gets overplayed a little bit. Well, too much. Although I do quite like the map. But the thing about Theme Park is it really tests your team's coordination, especially mainly on the attack. It is just so difficult to attack, to get those walls open, that you really need to know what you're doing. Everyone needs to know, where they're pushing, where they're coordinating, and all that in order to really succeed on this map. So this will really be a test of that coordination. Yes, fragging power and aim and whatnot and all that, but at the end of the day, it's who can coordinate a successful attack the most. That will set these 2 teams apart.
Yeah, I mean, good points across the board. I guess it's going to come down to a lot of different things. I mean, we talked very briefly about the rosters, Spud, and once again, speaking of the rosters, we are still waiting on one player, ladies and gentlemen. So apologies on that behalf. But Spud, we talked about the rosters momentarily earlier. Do we think that coming into this, obviously, BB, they're the same. They've got a relatively, if not the entirety of their roster from last season. Do you think that that is going to be an issue then for Triarii, who have had a couple of players go elsewhere, or do you think that maybe with their new roster, they're going to be looking even worse? Well, when I say worse, I mean scarier, not not worse, but
Worse for BVE, it's going to
I
scare
guess that
them
was a
away.
really bad choice of words. Yeah, my
Yeah.
bad.
Words, they always get me. But no, I'm surprised because, I see that usually the teams that do well are the teams that tend to stick together. I mean, we just need to look at Warriors now, Team Bliss. They've had the same roster for pretty much, a couple of seasons, and it gives them time to build up that synergy to work out how each other play, and then bring that knowledge going forward into the new season, so you're not building from scratch every single time. And I worry that some of these teams haven't embraced that kind of play style and are switching around too often. Granted, maybe it gives you a breath of fresh air. It brings in new talent. Certainly, that can be really helpful. But I do like seeing some of these teams, like Big Brain Esports, like Radical Rebels, sticking with some of the same rosters there and kind of building on what they've achieved previously.
Yeah, look, Spud, it's going to be interesting to see how it all goes here for map number one, given roster changes, given the new maps, given the new metas. I mean, we see LMGs sort of come in. We see the removal of the operator quarantine period. So Sen's in the fray. We've got Azami, Mira back from quarantine as well. I believe Castle even had a small hotfix in there somewhere. So a lot of operators seeing changes, but obviously now having all of those operators back in, you then have to reconsider bans. I mean, we've seen the ban rate of Azami become quite increasing over the play days in other tournaments. So, I mean, Azami could be something scary. We've seen her utilized on maps like Theme Park to great avail elsewhere. So, I mean, an Azami ban, do you maybe rate that for this matchup tonight?
Yeah, I can certainly see teams, experimenting with that sort of idea, and I think it'd be very useful. I'm not sure if these teams will go out, completely go out on a limb here and go for those newer, more exotic bands. Maybe just stick to the basics. Getting rid of the mirror will certainly be very helpful. As we've mentioned, Mirror is now once again back in the competitive pool following her, minor isolation incident. But yeah, Mirror already makes attacking, a defender-sided map so much more difficult. It's just almost a no-brainer to remove that. Maybe getting rid of some of the wall denial as well, so you can survive even without the Thatcher on board, things like that. But yeah, certainly, I would love to see an Azami ban if they bring it in, and if she's not banned, I would love to see her being played.
Yeah, very strong operator, but again, we are still waiting on final confirmations once more. Yeah, I mean,
we're not going to
we
name
could turn this into
here.
a little. We could turn this into a little bit of a podcast, but all the same, we have got confirmation now that the player is in. Finally, Spud, we're going to get in to game number one: Big Brain Esports versus Triarii on Theme Park. Spud, I mean, what are we rating this?
It's going to be fun. I think a 7-4 perhaps is in order, though if Triarii pick up the pace a little bit from their previous days, certainly could see them to go to 7-5, 7-6 maybe. 8-6. But still leaning towards the side of Big Brain, if I'm going to be perfectly honest.
Well, there we go. Mic muted. It's all going wrong on my end, ladies and gentlemen. But Thatcher to go. All that cool stuff I said, irrelevant right now. Spud, what do we think the rest are going to
be? Finger band. Yeah, no, so surely.
Yeah, there you go. You have to. You have to, but defensive side now, Mirror to go. Maybe the Azami. I know we theory crafted about it a little bit blue. Spud. It's all just compounding right now, isn't it? It's a rough one. Mirror goes, and Azami possibly to follow up. I mean, I'm not sure, but it would be a good choice. Maybe the Valkyrie as well. I mean, Valkyrie in the women's league has proven to be quite a scary operator to go against when used correctly. So could see the Val go. I guess it's really in the hands of Big Brain right now to close things out. And here we go. Yeah, Valkyrie. There we go. So relatively straightforward. Finker, I even think we could put into that category of straightforward. She has sort of seen that increasing ban rate given how prominent she is in competitive Rainbow Six Spud. But round number 1, let's get into it. First, defense, initiation room, and office, possibly for Big Brain. No, armory throne to lock things in.
Yeah, definitely one of those real strong sites. Though we do sometimes see lab storage as a primary even. But Armory Throne, a great place to start off with. It does give you a little bit more options for the attacking side in that you can play the vertical. It is one of those... if you're going for the yellow wall, you do get to play that vertical from office, but it requires a lot of map control, and that can be just as difficult as getting some of those other maintenance walls or barrels walls open. But at least they do have the Maverick to help them out a little bit, even though the Thatcher's off the board. Maverick certainly makes the job easier.
Attackers need to locate. And
obviously all of the hard breaches are available. We haven't seen any of them be taken out in the ban phase. So all of the triptych, well, I say the triptych, the main triptych, Ace, Habana, Thermite are available. But look, all the same, it's what they choose to bring. We do see the Thermite. We don't see anyone else being bought right now. The Maverick actually picked off by McGuffin onto the Yana, so maybe a little bit more focus on frags on the top floor here, depending on how deep Big Brain want to roam, but all the same, we'll see how it goes. But it's an interesting lineup from the defense side, a Vigil and a Legion with only the Mute in the Cave for denial. No real sight denial, no smoke. We don't see Tachanka, nothing along the lines of that. So heavy reliance on the Nitros, it seems.
Yeah, definitely heavy reliance on the roams as well. They're holding on to the top floor. We saw the Mute putting it down those jammers, and of course the Vigil will be up there as well. And that's going to make opening the wall for Triarii a lot more difficult. Of course, we mentioned they got rid of that Maverick, and so I assume they're going to be opening up the top of those maintenance barrels walls, throwing a nade all over it, and opening it that way. But of course, the challenge is not getting picked up from the roof. Sorry, from above. So that's going to be the first port of call here. Going to challenge through this cafe area.
Nitro out, unfortunately doesn't connect there as Triarii start to make their way into the cafe side. And that's going to cost BB well, I'd say utility, but more so just the Nitro side. Some shots traded here from Fish Noodle. Does some damage to Kira, but it's Cheese to go first. Ticked off, will trade. Noodle will find one, but she's ultimately gone in the fray. Could be on for another here. Pre-fire with a Legion doesn't connect, unfortunately. We're walking through Cafe. There you go. A double for Fish. Big Brain. Great roam on the top floor with 2 kills to start things out.
Yeah, and just look at the time that Fish continues to burn here. That's half of the round gone. And although they have got a pick, the Cheese, of course, already down, they're still continuing to challenge this, and it does not pay off. Ice is finally the one who shuts Fish Needle down, but the damage has been done. 3 players off the board, roughly about a minute left to go. Now all you're left with is, well, the top floor, but you haven't gotten onto the site at all.
Yeah, look, compounding losses right now for Triarii. I mean, yes, Ice does find the kill, but at that point, Fish has already killed 3 players. And at that point, you really just sort of take your losses. But they are going to do their best to get this wall open. Ice with the Zofia charge is, I believe, attempting to get rid of the Mute Jammer. Unfortunately, the explosive radius of the Zofia impact grenade not quite large enough. As they push on towards Drug with the play inside the bathroom. Chloe will find one ticked off. However, to take down the Mute. Sorry. Forgot Mute's name for a second there. And it's now a 2 versus 1. 30 seconds left. Walking into split. Chloe will be able to clean things up. And there you go. Big Brain at round number 1 in the bag quite comfortably.
Yeah, there wasn't really any way that push was going to go very well, given that there was no walls open, no yellow wall, no, well, any wall, and suddenly they're forced to push through split. And of course, with those 2 angles, one from armory, one from throwing, you never really win those. It's 2 50-50s, and you almost always look the wrong way. And especially if there are 2 players, of course, you always are going to look the wrong way. So well played there from Big Brain holding onto that crossfire at the end. Although Triarii did manage to get a lot of picks. It was a 2v1, so it could have turned into a 1v1 if Big Brain weren't careful. And so I think we can at least give props to Triarii for that, at least picking up some frags and inching it a little bit more closer.
Yeah, it was a good attempt. Ultimately, though, letting Fish get 3 inside of dorms with no refrag was definitely a small issue, I think we could say, Spud, that sort of may or may not have led to where we found ourselves at the end of that round. But Triarii did actually do pretty good getting it back to a winnable circumstance. I mean, provided Chloe didn't find that kill from split, that was definitely winnable. I mean, you rotate around the dragon, maybe force the fight on throne, try and get the bomb down, play for the 1 pick, go for the 1v1 type thing. Very doable situation, but unfortunately, Big Brain had their crossfires set up, everything locked down, and the site ultimately stayed in their hands for the entirety of that round. Triarii, close but no cigar, I think, is maybe the word some would say. Chloe, go for a bit of a spawn peek here. Definitely thinking about it. But unfortunately, I don't think anyone from Triarii is, over there to reciprocate and collect.
Yeah, to contest this cafe entry, there will be presence over on the arcade stairs, over the top yellow, and of course in a bunk as well. And I really like this setup they have, this extended setup that allows them to hold a lot more of the map. They leave those initial walls open and then contest all the way from over here and fall back slowly. And certainly, it can really threaten to stall the time here out for Triarii. Not, of course, if TikTok keeps finding picks like that 1 and 2 already in that break room. Looks like about to break this site wide open, except Yoshi will finally shut that down.
I mean, I don't even know how that Nitro connects, if I'm being completely honest. TikTok's not really anywhere near it, and on the main stairs, Yoshi will do an attempted flank, but ice there to collect means that the last 2 players on the site are going to have a big 2 versus 4 to try and clutch up here. Buddha will find 1 with the SMG-11, but takes a considerable amount of damage, but a great shot from Fish Noodle on the long angle to break down McGuffins, and now very quickly Big Brain put it back in a 2 versus 2, and there's a very clutchable situation for them.
Yeah, TikTok was, of course, a player last time to almost clutch it out, unfortunately shut down here, and that leaves Zero and Kira as the players of the moment. However, Fish Noodle and Butthead, both prominent fraggers here, still alive, and that's, of course, is going to prove problems. Well, they do have the western side of the map, but they still need to get onto site. Still a minute. Still plenty of time to work with them. Certainly, they've got the drone information to work.
Yes. Only 50 seconds. Buddha in a good position to do some damage here. Shotgun in hand, could go for the swing. Does hear the player close to her right. Does not to go for the swing, though. Will, in fact, do it. Gets the headshot onto Zero. Shotgun in hand now. Kira, the last alive. The last hope on the thermite. Knows that the player is somewhere, but has no clue that it's Buddha close left of the door. The swing here could be huge. 30 seconds left in play. Plenty of time. The Voltion in. The shotgun doesn't actually connect, giving herself away now. Kira has some knowledge. There is a player close by. Shots towards the Volt. Can't quite lock down Fish Noodle. Will do some damage, but now inside initiation. Has to get aggressive for this kill. Shotgun, though, isn't going to connect. Kira will find that frag and needs to find one more. Fish now the last alive. Pings are available. They have the information. Walking through the office door. There you go. Fish Noodle in a 2 versus 4. Big Brain. Hold on, but that was a little bit too close to comfort.
Yeah, it's definitely really well played there from Big Brain, holding onto those cross angles and just waiting for the right moment to peak. Well played there by Buddha, now Butthead. Supposedly we have to say that name, so it is what it is. just a little bit unfortunate, I suppose, with that shotgun. SMG at that range definitely would have ended the fight right there and then. So, nevertheless, well played from Triarii. Brought it back to a 1v1, which certainly improves the chances, but it does leave Big Brain up 2-0.
Good place to find yourself, especially after the close rounds you've
Protect your
had.
bombs from being defused by attackers.
I mean, Spud, Triarii have had 2 rounds that arguably could have been either or, given the positions that both teams found themselves in. I mean, the first round, 2 versus 2. Second round, there, a 1 versus 1. So it could really be a 1-1 scoreline or a 2-0 vice versa for Triarii leading right now. But unfortunately, that's not how the cards have fallen. And Big Brain have just had those couple more plays. I mean, Fish with 5 currently around in the matchup so far in the big yards for Big Brain, but
5 seconds left.
it is still early in this matchup, Spud. We have the 3rd site here, so a possibility of a flawless site rotation. Triarii obviously going to look to shut that down now. They've got some momentum behind them at these close rounds, but can they now convert it into a round win? That's the big question.
Yeah, they always seem to do very well on that initial roam clear, getting the foot in the door, but they can't quite close it out at the execute. And both rounds, it's come down to that last second execute when they don't have the player count and the necessary walls open, the necessary angles to really execute onto site. And I think, as much as that might be a failing on Triarii's part, I think that's also a sign of Big Brain's extended hold, that they're really whittling down Triarii's abilities about those final attacks. They're taking out enough players that even though it's a 2v4, right, they can still win it out at the end.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty insane 2v4 spot, for being completely honest. Big Brain played that perfectly. I mean, the angle set up inside the site, having everything available to them just made it so much more holdable. There you go, Buddha to find the first, ticked off will fall, and there you go, Fish Noodle as well to find another. Compounding losses right now for Triarii, and they're playing right into the hold right now, which is arguably what they need to be trying to avoid. Chloe to find a 3rd, and just like that, 3 kills gone. Triarii with nothing in return. The team smoke there from Cheese. Rather unfortunate, but right now Triarii have a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, we've seen Professional play this top yellow stairs quite a lot, and it's worked out very well. And with that, very well indeed is how this round goes. A flawless round with a jump out at the end. Yeah, Big Brain definitely starting to heat up a lot more.
Flawless round as well, Spud. Don't forget to highlight that one. 3 rounds in with the flawless site rotation. Everything looking good right now. Back to Armory Throne for Big Brain on the defense. Triarii right now just cannot find any type of footing. They get it down to such clutchable positions. 1v1s, 2v2s, and then they just can't get the close up. Which is unfortunate to say, because they have had really good positioning. In both instances, we've seen them in a position that is clutchable.
Defenders,
but then Big Brain just go for a swing, go for a play, and it pays off because there's just not enough information available, which we've seen become a bit of an issue for Triarii. I mean, that first round when we saw Ticked Off walk in, find those 2 opening picks, there was information galore, drones, everything set up for the flank. We had pre-placed, letting her get in to play for those entries, and it paid off. But then since that round, I mean, we've seen 0 played. We haven't seen any of the cameras come out. We haven't seen many drones, or at least I haven't seen many drones coming out from Triarii. In terms of the entry, it has been a lot of face checks, and it has been costing them in terms of these opening picks.
Yeah, another thing I did notice was that all 3 rounds, Triarii have entered through the cafe entrance. It's always from the same spot, and I think Big Brain really capitalized on that last round. They knew exactly where they were going to be. They put the players in the right positions and right players there as well. Vishnu, of course, always on a heater. And then suddenly, Triarii just can't get any map control. They didn't even really take over the cafe area because they were constantly being challenged. And I think if Triarii don't figure out a way to change where they're entering this map from, like they are now, it's certainly not going to end well.
Yeah, no, not at all. Because Big Brain are just playing into it. I mean, they know that this is where Triarii have been entering from the last, as you said, 3 rounds or so. So if they have that information and they are expecting this, why not play into it? Chloe to start things off, though, again, once more with another opening kill on the ticked off. And I mean, things are just starting to compound. Another great shot from Yoshi, the pre-fire onto 0 to lock that kill down now, too. And as Fish Noodle spots the player walking into Cash, Ice will narrowly escape with her head. But at this point, again, Triarii have lost 2, make it 3, as Yoshi finds a second. And again, once more, Spud, this is just not the way the round needs to start out. They tried to switch it up, but it just has not worked at all.
Yeah, if they were managing to get at least some territory beforehand, now they don't even really find their way into the map. And yeah, as you mentioned, it could be down to this lack of information. We did see the drone there, but unfortunately it just didn't catch Yoshi just walking right up to them. So yeah, maybe this drone game needs to be improved. They need to pre-place and work out exactly what is safe for them to enter, rather than, as you mentioned, just face checking everything, because unfortunately, Big Brain just, although they have big brains, they're also really great gunners.
Yeah, the setup and strategy right now from them even as well is just insane. And as we see the attempted clear from barrels now, will actually be cleared out, but Yoshi is going to make short work of the Yana McGuffin falls. The nade lasted from the hatch above. Fish Noodle drops on down. Big Brain, not a flawless round, but very close to it. Another one on the board, 4-0. Triarii yet to find any semblance of scoreline footing here on this leaderboard right now.
And they started off going for that split push on the top floor. They went through Cafe again and then going through the top of Cash as well. But unfortunately, just not able to get a foothold at all. Big Brain able to push them back pretty much straight away. And then, of course, when they did attempt to go for that that barrel's wall, it does show why you need to take that top floor control, take that bit of map control. Yoshi able to get the swing, and then, of course, Fish Noodle dropping from the ceiling to finish things off. And yeah, as much as this is Big Brain's map and a defender-sided map, certainly Triarii haven't been performing to their best on that at this point in time.
Unfortunately, yeah, that definitely seems the case. Possibly the roster issues might be causing some chemistry issues. But I mean, Triarii of old were definitely something to be scared of. And I can guarantee that this roster is also one of many great feats. I mean, we've seen them get these rounds down to very winnable positions, albeit, well, I don't say that. The first 2 were very winnable positions. The last 2 were very Big Brain dominant. But I'm saying that, Spud, they have had some good rounds. And with some minor changes in the attacking lineup, or even just the position of attack, we do see Fura switch off of the hard breach and bring a knock. So some more fragging potential could definitely make things a little bit more scary here for Big Brain, provided they're not paying attention for this knock at all. But Chloe is probably going to be gifted with an easy kill. No, a lot of damage though, so still a good start.
And her position given away, she will choose to at least hold on to it for a little bit more time here. The aim, of course, to burn out that time. And yeah, once again, we see that drone in place, but it doesn't seem anyone's actually on it. I don't... Yeah, okay.
Oh, no.
We do see some... Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay, the sound did save her there, but it could have ended very badly.
Oh no, Chloe won, not the second or the third. Oh no, oh no. I don't know if we can even call that. We can call that a whiff. What happened? Had all 3 players not paying attention, only gets 1. It's actually booted to find 2 on the runouts. Chloe on stream. Unfortunate. Could have had a massive feed, but still Big Brain. Looking great to walk away with a 5th. 0. Going to open up the hatch, but run out from Yoshi. Isn't going to connect the shots initially, but will find the kill regardless. Big Brain for round number 5. I don't even know what to break down from that, Spud, but they won the round. I guess that's what we can chalk it up as.
Yeah, definitely having a bit of fun now, just jumping out all over the place. And at least that does show one thing, right? If one player falls or fails to complete the objective, there are other players who can step up and continue taking the fight. And I think that's a good sign. You're not kind of top heavy in terms of having only 1 or 2 players to do all the work and then the rest tagging along. And then when you lose those 1 or 2 players, it's game over. At least, although Chloe fell, of course, Buto was still there, Yoshi was still there. Everyone's still able to stay in the fight, and that's a sign of a good
Attackers need to
team.
locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
The thing was, right, is all the post shots looked like they were connecting.
Right?
Like, they looked good, but they just didn't hit anything. The first kill wasn't even the person
Bomb
that was
located by
on
attackers.
the replicator. I believe it was McGuffins on the replicator. And actually killed the second furthest away with the spray transfer that just could not. It was so many targets, but they all looked like they should have died. There was that many shots that looked like they looked like they connected. Obviously they
10
didn't,
seconds
but
left before insertion.
that would have been an insane run out. It would have been an insane run out. Regardless,
5
Big Brain win the
seconds to
round.
insertion.
Almost flawless again, Spud, keep in mind. 4 players left at the end there.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
But once more, Triarii on the cusp. It almost seems like as soon as they make a change, I mean, we saw 3 players go cash back this time instead of Bakery side, and Big Brain were ready. They had 2-3 players there to contest, and it is perfect every time. They read into the play most of these rounds and just completely shut it down.
Yeah, it's that information being fed throughout the team, the communication. It's really, really shining here, and it's enabling this defense to be so aggressive, to be jumping out. They know exactly what to do, when to do it. And yeah, Triarii just haven't been able to get any breaks from this. They are just being hounded back and forth by Big Brain at this point.
Indeed they are.
Bomb located by
Indeed they are, Spud, but we do see, again, once more, a very heavy cash balcony push here from Triarii. 1 round here. 1 round would be so much more beneficial than none, as 2 players dropping security as well. Yoshi actually does go down on the opening, so Triarii, second time they found the first kill here. G's now to fall as well from inside of the bathroom. Chloe swings on round to try and get aggressive onto this pick, but is not going to be rewarded with anything at the moment. Will go for the aggressive swing, gives herself away, but wins the fight regardless. Now into the bathroom, doesn't find second. Ticked off, actually, to take down Buddha, and we find ourselves in a 2 versus 4. Triarii, sudden burst of life, but in round number 6.
Yeah, this site, of course, last time they entered through the cafe area and it didn't go well at all. So I like that they've changed things up, and it looks like it's paying dividends for them. They really have a lot more map control. They have time as well. They can open up walls, get those angles, actually start taking some serious control instead of tweaking things for no reason, which is exactly what has gone down here. Exactly why it's a 2v3 now when it could be a 2v4.
Ooh, that could have been a nice shot. Unfortunately not connecting. Has great information right now, I believe, off a bulletproof camera. I mean, look at the yellow pings available for BBE to utilize as the site push does start to come out. But a great nade from McGuffins is going to land at the feed of 0. Fish Noodle now being pressured, looking for her 10th kill. May find it yet, as there is a player close by. Oh, he's going to swing on round. A great shot from the Jaeger. Make it 2.
My goodness.
Big Brain for a flawless defensive half. 6 rounds on match point already. What a game to kick us off the night, Spud. Could be a 7-0 here, provided Big Brain have a great attacking side, but Triarii right now staring down the barrel of defeat so early in this matchup.
Chloe knew when to play aggressive, and that was the perfect example. That was a perfect time. She, of course, took out the Sophia first, as we mentioned, swinging through that Syria gate, and although giving away her position, she did manage to get a pick. And then right there at the end, she heard the grenade pop, and that was a perfect timing. Very well done from Chloe, and yeah, a 2v4 all the way down to a 2v2, and then didn't even lose another player after that. Well played, well played.
Yeah.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
It's rough times, but it definitely seems like it. Triarii right now I don't know if it might be a little bit of Kafka's curse, and if so, I deeply apologize. But not looking good at all, unfortunately, here. It has been so rough for them. They could not find a single opening. They have had two versus 4 situations that they have subsequently lost for a multitude of reasons. Lack of information being one, of
5
team
seconds
kills,
to go.
and then just face checking. And it has been that
Attackers' objective is to locate a bomb and
sort of
defuse it.
precedented aggression that has cost them so much. And Big Brain are just playing into it perfectly. They are just waiting and ready to collect, and have collected on multiple occasions. And Big Brain obviously now looking good to close it out. I mean, right now, match point 6-0 with an interesting attacking lineup. Could be going for the yellow plan, or at least that's what they're shaping up, I think, for.
We, of course, on that poster, we have seen her do great work with that play, so definitely looking forward to more as well. And again, here we are, the info coming out from Chloe with the clone as well. That's so much info, and it really contrasts the way Triarii approached things, which was, you know, just swing things. Here again, once again, live drone. I do believe there is some backup, like fishing or through the wall. We'll find first pick.
Ticked off. Really the only player for Triarii who's been doing damage when we look at the leaderboard side of things, but unfortunately no damage will be dealt this round unless the rest of Triarii can clutch up here, as Big Brain are going to get a great entry. But look at the spark difference, Spud. The information game right now from BBE is insane. Drones available that McGuppins didn't even know about, couldn't even hear, and nets them another kill, 2 off the board. All of the roam presence completely cleared out. Now it is going to come down to the Nitro to even attempt to find something back, but just not going to connect whatsoever.
Yeah, with those 2 players, Lucy and Jaeger off the board, that's a top floor conceded entirely. And now that they don't have the player count needed, they can't go for those flanks either. They're going to be forced to really hunker down on site. And this is where things could get a little bit dicey, especially with all the vertical control being exerted by that buck over there. And as we speak, that's 1 more. Ice taken off the board now, and at least just the smoke and Kira with that smoke, the warding glasses to deny any execution that comes through.
This spot is not looking good. Not looking good at all for the defense here. As Big Brain start to collapse onto the site, wall to be opened up, and player inside of split, clone, I guess you could say, inside of split, will get some information. Kira will find some consolidation, finds 1 kill as Cheese walks in, will get the opening kill onto the site, and Fish Noodle to close it out. Big Brain in spectacular fashion find a 7-0 win. Triarii with nothing on the board, unfortunately, to show for this evening. Big Brain just that little bit up.
Beautifully played there from Big Brain Esports, their defense and their attack. Well, the 1 round of attack that we saw the drones come in, the information, the live drone, followed up by the players, perfectly placed, and then, of course, exerting that downward pressure, opening up the wall, perfect execute. Textbook, apart from losing, 1 player here or there. So very well done to Big Brain Esports. And, of course, Triarii Esports, although they did manage to close it out to pretty close times in a few rounds, they weren't quite able to get that final execute. And I think that's something for them to go and think about as well, making sure that they don't jump the gun, especially when you have a 2v4 advantage, things like that, making sure you're still getting the info, still executing properly, and not relying on those fraggers, because as we've seen, if the information is there, fraggers can get out-fragged.
Yeah, definitely. Even frag grenades can be your worst enemy. But Spud, I mean, a great first game to kick the night off. And I mean, even more, we look at that. BB, one of their arguably stronger looking maps across the times that we've seen them play it. And the way that they play that map is just, theme park is just insane. I mean, we saw them break it down to every single level. The roam was perfect. They had great information on the attack for the 1 round that we saw it with the drones. I mean, that could have quite easily been a 7-3. with Triarii finding a few rounds, as we say, there was a lot of rounds that were very, very close to being in their favor. And I think quite easily, provided that they take this as a learning experience, they go do some more prac work. In the coming play days, we could definitely see them making some more damage on the scene. Obviously, they do have one more match tonight. So at the end, hopefully, maybe we get to see how that one goes. But albeit, Spud, a great way to start the night off. And other than that, I mean, yeah. What? Any last thoughts for that one, Spud?
Well, I think the lesson here for everyone is do not take Big Brain Esports to theme park. I think that's a key takeaway here. Though I think somebody will at least try it again. If anyone, it'll be Bliss who will try it.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone will try it. I can guarantee
you. Yeah, maybe. Well, with match one at a conclusion, we are going to head to a small break after we return one more game for the evening. So don't go anywhere. We will be back momentarily after this break. I believe our mics are live nonetheless. We're here for an extra couple of seconds of ad before we get on into game number 2. Spud, a very quick conclusion to game number 1.
Yeah, we did have a little bit higher hopes, I think, for Triarii Esports there, but unfortunately they will fall 7-0 to Big Brain Esports. Having said that, Big Brain Esports, of course, put on a masterclass for us for Theme Park, so definitely well done to them. But that's enough for the first round matches. They have all been completed. We will be moving on to our second round for tonight, and on stream we will be watching Viking Army take on Fury.
Yeah, for game number 2. It's going to be an interesting one. Fury, I believe, coming off the back of their last game with a 7-1. So coming into game number 2 for them this evening, things are looking to shape up to be rather interesting. But we'll have to see how that one pans out. We are going to look at where we are off to tonight for these two teams, Spud. The map veto momentarily appearing on our screens. And, I mean, look, these two teams, Fury versus Viking Army, it's going to be, I believe, I want to say a relatively even one, but at the same time, Fury have been doing pretty well, and it's off to Cafe for this one, Spud. Do you think that's an indication of what we might see?
Yeah, Cafe is one of those maps that don't get played as often compared to, your stock standard Clubhouse Oregon. So I do hope that these teams will have some strategies prepared. It does usually favor the attacker side a little bit more, but there's still certainly a lot that the defense can do. It's a fairly large map. You have those 2 top floors you can roam on before dropping back. And so an effective roam clear will really be the name of the game here for the attackers, and for the defenders, they're going to be trying to hold on to as much of the map as possible for as long as possible.
Well, as we head on into game number 2 for the evening, Cafe, Spud, Viking Army versus Fury. We are back with the operator bands for another 30 seconds or so, and I think we might see a relatively similar banning phase. Maybe not the Finker, maybe we see the Flores to go, given that he is a lot more prominent than the Finker on Cafe, but I mean, Thatcher definitely, I would imagine probably Mirror again, or the Valkyrie, but I think Azami could be quite up there in terms of the bans. Obviously, she brings a lot to a map like Cafe, and there you go. No, okay, Finker first to go off the board.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about Azami, and although we didn't get to see her played in Theme Park and Cafe, this might change. When I'm thinking, especially at places like Pixel, planks on that top floor, it can be really strengthened by having a Azami to give yourself some extra barricades. And of course, since you're going to be playing on the top floor for when you're challenging the middle floor sites as well, certainly a lot of potential there. But it will be the Flores, as she mentioned, so both Flores and Finker taken off the board, and Fury will be following things up with the Valkyrie ban.
Yeah, now obviously the question is it going to be the Mirror or is it going to be the Azami? Both characters having relatively prominent stature on a map like Cafe. It's just going to be which one chooses to go, and it will be the Mirror. So Azami in play here for map number 2. We saw her for map number 1, but to no play time whatsoever. So hopefully we do get to see her maybe played here on Cafe, but we're going to go right into it. Spud, Fury, a little bit of a newer roster with a newer org, obviously one that we are familiar with all the same, but coming into their second match of the night, Spud. you would imagine that they're raring and ready to go.
Yeah, these players, of course, veterans from previous seasons, Ravenna, Psycho, Peepo, Ambi, and also L. They've all played last season. They did very well as well. Ravenna was doing really, really well playing on that Benchwarmers team.
Yeah.
So certainly we have expected them to, perform a little bit better than the showing they've shown in the previous week. On the side of Viking Army, though, definitely a bit of maybe an underrated pick here. Certainly, these players have played before, returning org from the previous season, not the last season, but before. But certainly, they've been doing really well. They've come off 2 wins in the previous week. They did lose just then 2-7, I believe, was the Bliss. But it is Bliss, after all. What can you expect? So certainly still in the running for this match.
Indeed, Spud, indeed. But keep in mind, there are a couple of unfortunate things that we can't necessarily have any effect of. Obviously, Viking Army playing with a sub tonight as unavailable, as well as Ravenna not at her usual setup, currently at an internet cafe due to the floods. So hopefully that all is all right, but all the same, I highly doubt it will be affecting gameplay from Fury's side of things. Viking Army might be, hindered by that a little bit, given that one of their core players isn't there tonight, but I guess we'll see how it pans out. Round number 1, Spud, all of the Fury members making their way up to the roof. Could have had a disconnect there from Ambi, but we are yet to see. Yeah, no? Okay, we don't know. All the same. GG's in chat for last week's play day. Top red, already been opened up.
And this is the usual method of entry for most teams, going through for this top floor site. Going to start contesting the piano area as well. We've also got that player out on that AC unit to cut off any players crossing back from Pixel. And so far it's done some pretty good work. Gone already down quite low on health. But for the most part though, still, both teams have all their players.
Yeah, with a minute of time now elapsed, Fury begin to sort of start picking apart this bomb site. Hazel will take down Ravenna. The opening kill going in favour of Viking Army, and a couple more players now to rotate down to the second floor as well. So Viking Army taking that pick and sort of spreading out to diversify their roam. As Fury down a player, only the Jackal, so not really a lot of heavily relied on utility loss. The track's obviously a good thing to have, but other than that, not too much forfeited, other than maybe the smokes. But going into the last minute here, Spud, they need to be finding a pick if they want to look to at least equalise going into the execute.
Yeah, and as you mentioned that, 1 minute left on the board. They still, it's not too bad. This is fairly close to sight, but it's not the best either. And there's, as you mentioned, still 5 players for Viking Army to work with. Hazel will take out Andy here. Another and a third for Hazel. There we go. This is certainly not looking in Fury's favour at the moment.
Yeah, Hazel, 3 kills for her. Good round so far. Could be on for all 5, provided that can find those last 2 kills. Psycho and Peepo, very capable players from Fury. Gonna have to make a play, find the first, got to go down. Low HP cleaned up now. Peepo maybe looking for the entry here through the reading door, cigar door rather. It's a GN in chat to go on, and the crossfire is being held right now from Viking Army. Going to make this significantly harder for Fury as it comes down to the last 15. The entry into the site is going to have to come out, and will find Peepo, and now it's all up to Psycho Hazel for all 4 in the round. Unfortunately, not all 5. It was very close. Had maybe picked earlier, could have found the ace, but all the same, Viking Army round number 1 in the bag.
A really good defense there. They didn't really give up too much for free on the part of, free picks for Fury, although Gon did get tagged up a little bit. They didn't play too aggressively. They kind of held back, went for those picks when they needed them, and then just kind of waited it out, and that was kind of where Fury kind of fell apart. They weren't able quite to get those picks they needed, and then they were forced to kind of funnel onto site through that one door,
attackers need to locate and
wall
defuse as many
breach.
bombs as they can.
And there really wasn't much they could do, especially with so many players from Viking Army still up there to hold the crossfire.
Yeah, it was a good setup from Viking Army. Obviously, the setup they had Very well done. And Hazel, bit of a super sub moment there for her in that first round. Obviously, we'll see if that continues for the rest of the night or not. But I'd imagine Viking Army are hoping that it isn't a one-shot wonder moment. Fury, though, unfortunately for them, not the greatest of starts. I do believe that we saw some internet issues there for Ambi as well, or at least those were voiced in the chat. So could be compounding issues, possibly. But right now, it doesn't look like there's too much going on. So Fury might have a little bit of a switch up. They bought the Ying on Psycho, so maybe looking for a bit more aggression.
Yeah, I think this roster will definitely be characterized by that aggression, just based on how we've seen these players previously play. But against a well-organized team, it might not work out so well. I mean, we saw something of that manner happen previously on our screens, where we saw Triarii versus Big Brain. Big Brain, of course, having the better information and setups, were able to outgun Triarii at their own game. Ravenna, however, will find M as I speak, and that's the first pick going in favor of Fury.
Good pick to find. M down. The only other person that found a kill in that last round, as they take Cafe control pretty quickly. So we do see the Viking Army players returning back to the side as the Habana opens up that main wall. And obviously with the Thatchers coming out constantly, the wall will be opened up. There you go. Ambi is definitely having some connection issues with the best Michael Jackson impression inside of Cafe. Weird one will go down, though. So another kill, possibly yet to be locked down. They know that that's a down. Depot. Holy smokes, has found that kill. With one on the bomb chassis now spotted as well. Could be a second, but Hazel swings on out. Finds the kill onto L. Some damage dealt as well to Depot. Ambi goes down now, continuing to lag, I believe. But Viking Army turn things around and make it a lot more doable. Psycho, though, to at least confirm. And in the 3 versus 3, provided they get the res, this could be on.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be difficult to pick up Weird One from where she is, and I certainly expect this flank from Smallbake will be watched. And there indeed we see a player already on it, and you can hear the air jab. It's going to be very difficult to retake this site. C4 goes out, does do a lot of damage to people, but doesn't quite catch her, but it will be the air jab. Gone right into the wall. And now with the flank going down to 1v, well,
Nothing. 1v0 spot. Yeah. it was close. It was close, but air jabs all round. I mean, the double air jab on that door was just, it was the icing on the cake. Fury going to walk away with the round, and we have asked for the rehost, and ultimately Ambi will have to change up the internet input, possibly a bit of a router reset, maybe. I'm not too sure. Either or, but we definitely did see some issues, unfortunately, unfolding there for Fury. So a 4v5 at the moment. They've actually done pretty well. I mean, finding a single round, given the circumstances. So, yeah, look, albeit Fury have been doing it really well so far. But Spud, we are going to get this rehost done underway, and we will return very, very shortly after 5 or so minutes. So don't go anywhere. This match will continue. But, yeah, we'll get all the players back in, and then we will return.
We know that for each second in esports, you are dedicated to winning. Over a decade, XL Series has evolved alongside with gamers. We strive to make every product detail perfect so that you can perform at your best. We are honored to stand with you, the pro gamer who keeps fighting to win in esports. Elevate your skill and maximize your potential with the ultimate gaming monitor. Zowie. Strive for perfection. Focus on winning.
We're back, Spud. After a small rehost, we are back, and hopefully things for Ambi going forward in the future aren't as bad, but good luck, have fun once more in the chat. And we are ready to get back into this Fury 1-1 against Viking Army, albeit a 4 versus 5 up until this point, Spud.
Yeah, I mean, given the situation, it's not bad at all, especially for Fury to take that last round. So props to them, they're doing pretty well. It's only going to get more difficult from here, so hopefully Viking Army have warmed up. And yeah, I mean, granted that the first round was pretty good, but the second round especially was a bit lacking there from the defense. We didn't really see anything spectacular, and yeah, it felt like Fury could just kind of brute force their way in through the bakery. I saw 4 players stacked up on there, so surely that's asking for vertical play to be enabled, right?
Yeah, like there was no real contestment at all from Viking Army. In fact, I would argue that the only person that has had impact so far in terms of winning rounds was literally Angel in the first round and the second, just putting the work in kills wise and just sort of allowed everyone else to find the stragglers, and has been a very big win condition so far for Viking Army. So Fury obviously shutting Hazel down in the early moments of that round opened the door for a relatively, as you mentioned, a aggressive push, but albeit that was only the first 2 rounds. Going into the third, we see a small strategy change from Viking Army here, a little bit more of an aggressive hold in the bakery with Jaeger and Lamaya on the board. So a little bit more focused on trying to directly stop that push this time.
Yeah, I think Viking Army have kind of figured out that just taking head-on gunfights against Fury is not the way to go, especially when the attackers have so much better guns. You have Psycho on the Ying as well, in which case it's pretty much impossible to take that gunfight. But yeah, so they're relying a bit more on their setup. The question is whether Fury will be able to read into this and figure out, okay, let's just ignore it completely. You do have a lot of options for vertical play. You can do a horizontal push starting from the garage, but it looks like the play will just be, once again, send it straight into bakery.
Device is going dark!
My device is planted.
You're saying anything, Proto? We can't hear you, but...
Of course, very nice. Mic muted once more. Let's go. I keep bumping it when I go to move my mic around on my desk, but albeit utility dump coming out, as I was saying, sounding really, really cool, and then ultimately fumbling the bag. L takes a lot of damage. Smokes are out, but they don't have any clue that this player is inside of bakery. They seem to know, but no. Psycho completely lost in her own smoke. Weird One finds two, and Fury. That is not what you want to happen. Pipo goes down, Psycho traded out, and Weird One allowed to get away. Surely not reinforce the wall as well. No, she will get it off. L goes down as well. Round number 3 for Fury right now is not looking good at all.
Attackers
I
recovered
think
the
where it
body.
kind of fell apart is that wall right there. You see that small bakery wall? The fact that was reinforced meant that they weren't able to get that easy pick onto the player behind bakery. Last time, of course, they were not able to get that opening pick, but now that was reinforced. It took them a really long time to open it up. And in the meantime, of course, we weren't able to find 2 picks. So, with that all out of the way, L now on low health, and really, Fury only just having this one foothold here in the small bakery.
Attackers bomb diffuser has
Certainly
been
not
dropped.
going well. Wow. Okay. A trade? But yeah, at least take the hard breacher away, and that's certainly going to make things more difficult.
I mean, 2 players on considerably low HP, M and Weird One both within
Attackers recovered the
one bullet
diffuser.
of their own lives, so definitely doable in the last 30 seconds here. Vanner is going to have to go relatively huge, though, on the Nomad. They do have a player above on the vertical, obviously also a couple inside of the site of the crossfires, so it's going to be a difficult push for Fury, but one that they can definitely do, especially if Ambi gets given freebies like that on the multitude.
Seconds left.
Throw prepped, it's going to come over the drink spot. Will it connect? No, it won't. Caught, unfortunately, in the railings as they swing on out into the site. One not spotted inside a freezer, but Weird One and M find the last 2 kills, and Viking Army going to walk away with the round, regardless of the efforts from Fury.
That's well played there from Viking Army, holding on to that bakery for as long as possible and then falling back at the perfect time. They even reinforced it up. That certainly made things more difficult for Fury, and with the loss of the hard breacher, their options really by then were fairly limited. Well, they did make a good attempt. They tried to just force their way through that double door, but good crossfires being held there. I was a little bit worried that, Viking Army might turn it into 1v1s that Fury could win, but unfortunately for them, and rather unfortunately for Fury, it will be a second round for Viking Army.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Yeah, look, whatever went wrong in Cafe there, well, in the bakery rather, should we say, definitely had a long-lasting effect on the round squad. I mean, the 2 kills that were found by Weird One and the wall being reinforced, it just, yeah, not a good outcome for Fury, especially losing Pipo and Psycho. 3 kills for Weird One in the round, actually, in fact, as we'll go to the scoreboards now. But Viking Army, as they return to the top floor, looking good for maybe another round, but some small amount of damage to the Weird One. I'd imagine probably won't cause too much issues, but yeah, Fury
Attackers must
going to have to change something up. Losing 2 picks like that off the bat, not what you want to be seeing. Coming now on the attacking side, obviously a defender side of Matt, but even still, this is a very capable team, one that can do a lot of damage when they have the coordination, so we just need to see them implementing that.
Yeah, when they have been able to take those head-on gunfights, Fury definitely have been able to put in the damage, so would like them to obviously enable that sort of play a bit more, and that means they're going to, ironically, have to use those drones and the information to put them in the right position to take the gunfight, because so far they've kind of seemed to be face-checking things, which, as we've seen, doesn't always work out very well. So hopefully things will start to change from this round onwards.
Hazel.
A bomb has been
It's going to
located.
get droned out, but maybe not even to any real knowledge. And it's going to be a relatively quick push here from Fury deep inside of Cigar as Ambi goes relatively unchecked here on the sledge somehow. All the way deep into the bathroom side. Actually will be spotted from below though, because the drone information not there, obviously, relayed from when it was shot out. So Hazel will find one. We'll get the Volt out too. No air jab at all from Fury, which is an interesting choice, but
Attacker's
still.
bomb diffuser has been dropped.
Nitro from Nez now to connect as well, further compounding Fury's losses and things just not looking good whatsoever as Golden finds another one on the Ravana. 2 left for Fury. Peepo and Psycho have got a massive job ahead of them.
Yeah, I was going to compliment them on the fact that they had taken the piano control much, much sooner than last time. Last time they had 1 minute left. This time they had 2. Fortunately, they weren't able to make much of it. That's 3 quick kills now, and they're left with 2 players. And once again, a minute with only this piano control. No hard breacher this time as well means they're not going to be able to walk on through that wall. And a trade as well. Seeing so many trades today means it's just Psycho left all to herself.
Psycho spotted out. 3 fires there, but M with the pistol. I believe actually trying to just go for the one taps, yeah, but Psycho really completely clueless to what was going on there. But unfortunately for Fury, that means that they are going to forfeit another round as Viking Army find their 3rd, and it doesn't seem like having that sub in tonight is really causing any issues whatsoever for the Viking Army players.
Yeah, certainly, and we were speculating perhaps on the mental state as well for these teams. Fury, of course, coming off a 7-1 win against Benchwarmers, so that definitely would have fed into their performance as well, whereas Viking Army suffered their first loss after going undefeated the previous week. But looks like, the mental states have kind of at least equalized, they've kind of balanced that a little bit. Viking Army getting ahead now 3-1, whereas Fury have been a little bit more checked compared to their previous match up against Benchwarmers. In theory, though, if we consider, head-to-head, Fury did beat Benchwarmers 7-1 compared to Viking Army 7-3. So technically, Fury, if you compare it against that benchmark, might be a little bit better, but so far it's not really showing up yet.
Oh, Spud. It unfortunately hasn't been the greatest start for Fury, obviously with internet connections and whatnot. They've been struggling a little bit off the gate here on Cafe, which, is interesting given that their first game was as dominant as it was. So, either or. Viking Army right now, just playing the better seed, I suppose. But it does reflect in the rounds. Hazel fragging out, weird one fragging out now as well after the rehost. So we have had some individual moments, I guess, of highlight so far in this matchup. But with Viking Army looking good for at best a 5-1 here, provided Fury don't find anything. We could be on for another very quick one, Spot.
Viking Army now getting a little bit aggressive, doesn't quite find the spawn peak there, so Fury will survive at least to get to the building. And middle floor site can be very, very strong as well. You do get to hold up on the top floor and kind of extend downwards, so I don't see, I believe, any outlines up there, so I'm not sure what the play is here.
Oh, there could be anything at this point. Either way. Viking Army. Once more on this top floor site. Or at least this top floor extension, rather, should I say. Looking to hold things down. Hazel, once more, the spearhead, I guess, of this roam. Completely alone, though, which is not usually what you see for a top floor hold. But as the player makes their way through red, Ambi has opened up the wall, made it into Cigar without being spotted by Hazel on the drop. Actually, I don't even think Hazel heard that. And we'll get deep into Cigar and actually will be taken down. Ambi finds the kill, and there you go, Fury. They're going to walk away with the dub.
Yeah, that could have gone very, very poorly there for Fury. It was a missed drone, but unfortunately, and quite fortunate for Fury, they were able to be a little bit quicker on that trigger. So with that one player down and now the top floor open, that does mean Sledge can get to work, and they have Buck as well. Nomads prevent any flanks as well. This is a really good position. They can exert so much downward pressure, and I think this might be what comes back to bite Viking Army.
It could. Indeed it could. The vertical now coming out as well. Not having the top floor extensions definitely looking like it's hurting them to some degree. The damage being dealt by Ambi. Goyo inside of the laundry as well. Pop now forcing M to either go for the flank or hold an off position for the given moment. Gone coming up the brown stairs. Could do some damage provided she catches the player off guard here. And I mean, Ravana dropping into possible. Well, and in 40 seconds, it's definitely looking like the execute is to come. Psycho to find the first gone. On the brown stairs, Ravana now as well takes down M. Weird One and Nez, the last two alive for Viking Army as the floor collapses above. Shots come out, Weird One connects. Ambi goes down on low HP, but they make their way into the site. L now getting the bomb down. Nez inside a train, yet to move for some reason on the cross, but it's going to be another trade, third for the night. Ravana onto Weird One and the post plant. So Nez finds herself in a 1-3.
Yeah, this lack of top floor presence has definitely come to haunt Viking Army now from the grave. 3 players remaining for Nez to find. Does manage to tag up Psycho a little bit, but not quite enough to get the kill. And yeah, this is definitely a precarious position. Even if he gets his pick, there's still 2 other players playing on that post plant. And with time ticking down, really isn't much you can do except maybe hunt for Katie pad, pistol kill, but it will not. It is not to be, is the words I was going to say. Fury managed to find a round.
Was that? It looked like someone. I'm very confused. I don't know. It looked like the initial pick was from Train, but it was from Red Hall. Either or, Spud Fury find another round off the back of some good entry frags. And while the first couple of rounds definitely weren't looking the greatest, Viking Army definitely shows that losing Hazel creates a bit of an opening for Fury, especially in the early moments of a round, because the fragging power is just gone. I mean, Weird One can definitely find those kills mid to late round, but Hazel is the opener for this team, or at least has been so far in this matchup. Not saying that the rest of Viking Army can't find any of the fragging. Weird One with 5 right now as well. But before the rehost, in round 1, 4 takes, in round 2, 2 more kills, I believe, and now 2 more subsequently after the rehost. So has been a very big opening sort of player for Viking Army, creating space. But Fury have been doing good in these last couple of rounds to at least attempt to shut down Hazel, and ultimately managed to get the execute off that time there. So a good round for them. Viking Army now, the best they can hope for is a 4-2. But Fury, I mean, if they can get a 3-3 here, going onto the defense side, this game could very quickly turn around if they play their cards right.
Yeah, you mentioned that taking Hazel off the board was kind of the key enabler there for Fury, but I also want to add that it was the power position, the lack thereof from Viking Army, which really kind of crippled their defense there, because they kind of just chose to hold on site, and that is not a site you can do that. There's so much vertical play, and with both the Buck and the Sledge, there's no way you survive that. So since they didn't have any power positions to hold on to, there was no way they could even deny entry into the site.
Yeah, but there you go. Holy smokes, Peepo takes down Hazel, and again, that sort of main kill get up off the board early, and there you go, as Army in play for the first time tonight. Is going to be used to her fullest, blocking up that breach, making things more difficult. Now trying to bait the swing, but unfortunately no one there to act on that. As the drones now come out to spot Weird One behind the bakery here, and they will clear out that is Army barricade. Now it is either going to have to be the retreat or the attempted peek here, because Fury are beginning to collapse, and M there on the cross takes down Ambi for the main breach. Through a punch hole. I mean, look at this. Fury, no information whatsoever, are just going to lose kills to this if they aren't careful.
And will get blinded, and with that, Weird One does go down, but that's pretty good timing, actually. 1.5 minutes, and they've got that bakery control. They've got small bake as well, and with player count an advantage here, they certainly have all the tools they need to execute on the site. Nez will go down now. Ravenna finds that pick, and it's all up to Em. She opened things up. She got the 1 pick, and she finds 4 more.
The ace to be, possibly. She can find all the players, but no, Psycho, sorry. That peak. Psycho 9. I'm thinking about a different game, Spud.
We know.
Psycho, though, to close things out. Good half from Ravanna indeed. A 3-3 Fury managing to bring it back from what was shaping up to be a very rough start. But all the same, now that they are on the defense, we've got continuing memes from week one. A little bit of clowning going on in the chat here. But all the same, Fury now on the defensive side. I'd imagine things will be on the lookup for them in terms of ease of access. Obviously, defender-sided map, very defender-sided roster. I mean, we've seen these players play these positions on the defense side, and we know that they are very, very scary now. The question is can they make it work? They're setting up both Pixel and Freezer shields here. So where we saw Viking Army lack in the shield department, we didn't see a Pixel hold, we didn't see Freezer, we didn't see Bathroom from them. So it's good to see Fury at least getting one of the default holds out from the depths of the strap.
Bomb located by attackers.
Yeah, it was a bit interesting that Viking Army didn't have those advanced positions, those forward positions to test Fury. They kind of just stuck around hanging out on site or close to it. And while that works for places like Kitchen, where you can play that small baked diet to your heart's content, and maybe even the top floor, it certainly doesn't work as we saw on that middle floor site. So yeah, Fury definitely not suffering from the same deficits that we saw Viking Army in their defense, but we still see, yeah, and especially no utility here to clear the shields from Viking Army. I think that's going to be a problem.
I mean, 2 nades and a twitch, but well, I mean, you say no utility. There's actually a good amount. There's a plenty of throwables on the board and the twitch, but yeah, it is going to have to be 2 very well placed grenades from M at the perfect time to clear this shield out in any hope. But again, that will come down to coordination, which we have seen a lot of from Viking Army, but at the same time, we've also seen some considerable mistakes. So whether or not that is the case, obviously, different choice. But Ravanna, oh, this could be big, provided she can find this player on white. Possibly has the information to some degree, but Jackal just walking on up. Rav could be on for a kill here. Indeed, she will. Takes down Hazel once more. Shut down 3 rounds off the bat in a row. And this is not good for Viking Army at all. That spearhead player, that big frag getter, the Jackal, taken off the board. And it's going to actually be a skylight drop, possibly? No act on that.
Alright, well, they at least do get rid of the Freezer shield. We did mention the shields need to be very, very well placed, so that's 1 off the board. But Pixel, arguably, is still a big, big problem. And of course, with a player down, it's going to be challenging. However, Psycho does get taken off the board. No more were my discs, and it's going to make Pixel a little bit more difficult for the defense to hold on to.
Indeed it will. Losing Psycho, unfortunately, yeah, given that it's early on, or at least early-ish, is going to hurt, especially with the Rav down too. But her utility is more place and forget with the Thorn devices, so hopefully, for Fury's sake, they can have some effect. But losing the woman advantage now, they are going to possibly struggle a bit here. But there you go, those Thorns coming out, no damage dealt, but it has forced Weird One deep to Piano, which could have led for a kill. The Peepo, unfortunately not connecting. L will find one on the cross. Peepo, though, goes down to Weird One, and 40 seconds left. 3 versus 2. Fury, definitely doable. A lot of people alive with some good angles, but unfortunately for us, not connecting is not what you want. Ambi now on the crossfire with P10 running in hand. Viking Army have a lot left going for them, and indeed they will convert it. Em and Nez close the round out. FF's in chat. Game over. Oh.
I don't know. It feels like they're milking this meme a little bit.
A little bit. But it's funny. It really is. I mean, I have to agree. It is pretty funny. But albeit, at the end of the day, unbiased opinions, but...
Unbiased opinion, yes. Well, 4-3, you know, we can talk about the score. 4-3. Viking Army do take that round, although I thought it was a Fury round, to be honest. The positions that Fury still held were very, very good, and especially getting that opening pick. The opening pick, followed by the relatively slow pacing of that attack, felt that Fury really had all the tools they needed to win that. And the Pixel Shield, it was still there at the end. But I think the same thing that helped them win their previous rounds, the gunfights, is where they fell apart. They won their gunfights previously, but now 3 players versus 2, and with significantly weaker weapons, it was the MPX and the Roni up against, you know, 2x scope LMG. You're not going to win those, and that's kind of where it fell apart for Fury.
It was unfortunate. Fury had a very solid setup that round, and ultimately just couldn't quite get the execution of it down. But we do see some switch ups here. L jumping off the Warden onto the Tachenka, and Rav jumping off the Warden onto the Frost. So a little bit more reconstruction abilities in terms of the operators being bought. I say that, obviously, we refer to the ability to do some site remodeling, Spud, given that Smoke is not in play or mute for that instance. But either or, Fury, a very good lineup all the same once more to attempt to equalise here on their reattempt to the top floor.
Hazel this time won't be solo pushing, and that is something we do like to see here. Could certainly have used that extra bit of fragging power there at the start. So once again, it will be this piano execute. Last time, fairly slowed into the building, so hopefully with the addition of Hazel to help out, it'll be faster. And yes, we did see that.
Very nice skyline. I don't know what you're talking about, Spud. We saw a very nice skyline. But, yeah, I don't know what the go is here. I don't know if it's a skylight drop or if it is deliberately just to clear the shield out, but it definitely seems like there is no action following that utility, which, if we're being honest, looking at the setup, it could work. We got one player on the new balcony, no one in freezer, no one close inside of Cocktail. I mean, it's interesting. It could have paid off for Viking Army. Obviously, the maybe not there, but Fury, hold on for a little bit longer.
A really big fucking hole coming right up.
Yeah, look, it's a kind of risky play, and especially at such a close scoreline, it's not something you're too keen on trying out. You want to do something that, you know, you've tried and you've tested, and certainly tested out their strategy last time. It worked very well, and, you know, for what it's worth, right, taking out that shield there with the grenade, it's definitely worth it. Gone. I'm not sure where she's going. Certainly a bit risky taking a hard breacher by themselves. But hey, she'll get away.
Yeah, I mean, with red opened up, there's not really too much left to do as Psycho swings on round for one from somewhere. I'm not actually too sure. No, yeah, still inside a pixel. Swings on round for one. Not second, though, as Hazel just walks into the site, largely unscathed. The Yings come out as well, but Hazel taken down, looking the wrong way. Not having as much frag potential in the second half, unfortunately. Weird One will find Peepo, though. So a 3 versus 3. Weird One on low HP means the entry into the site is going to be rather difficult. Gone to find L. Vanna will take down Weird One. So the low HP player now removed in a 2 versus 2 with even standings. Gone to take down Ambi. Viking Army on red ping now. Ravanna has the information. The bomb needs to be planted. Gone. Going to be going for the plant behind the softball. The information there for Ivana, though. No, going to have to swing on round. Will spot the first player, but just right behind the wall next to her. The plant going off. Unfortunately, none the wiser. Push to come from Gon. Ravanna makes it away. Does get the first, but can she find the second?
This is a... Oh, no.
Ravanna! There's no clue where the bomb's planted either, but it's fine.
Defenders have located the diffuser.
That was close calls on both ends. All the time. I mean, it was a softball. That was a softball, and she was right next to it. A bullet just down her with the shotgun, and that would have been it. That would have been it. And then once again, Nez caught looking the wrong way. Almost got her head taken off, but managed to survive that. And then still, I don't know what's going on there. The cover just wasn't there. Surely by then they figured out where Ravenna is, but again, looking the wrong way. I just don't know where that information, how it got lost down, you know, through the chain of plays, especially once you die. You know, surely they would figure she's at Cocktail.
I mean, the Ying walking in completely looking the wrong way. I mean, towards Freezer, fair enough. Obviously the rotate hole was available, but Rav just opting for the reswing. The ego peak, I guess we could even say, on the angle that was probably the least advisable to peek on, but it worked. Sometimes it works like that, and for Rana it did. So a good call. 8 kills for her since the rehost as well, but possibly even more given the maths. But 4-4, they equalise once more, back down to the kitchen. And they're continuing on with this meme in the chat. It keeps going, Spud. I think this is going to be a whole game up. But right now, Viking Army, I mean, they've looked good, Spud, but I think they've let off a little bit in the second half.
Yeah, that first round was pretty good, but that second one, certainly things starting to feel a bit off there. The coordination just wasn't there. It wasn't the same level we saw, especially on some of these defenses in the first kitchen, the second kitchen defense we saw. So, yeah, a bit inconsistent is how I would describe it. Certainly, it means Fury do get to at least claw another round back, take it back to 4-4, and that keeps it still fairly even.
Yeah, and Fury had a relatively good showing on this bomb site already, so provided they can keep that up. So, Ambi, sorry, not Psycho this time. Getting droned out quite heavily here inside of Cafe with the pixel angle available. Could be on for a free kill.
That was a dangerous move.
Yeah, that was a very dangerous move given that that pixel is available. But Twist Drone is going to go to work and get rid of some utility, and Gon will be able to open up this wall. So unless it can be cleared from Red Hall, which I believe it may have been.
Yep, that was it. I heard it. Yep.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's been cleared, but they're going to give it up anyway. So time wasted, I guess.
Yeah, there's still 2 minutes to work with, so it's not too bad. And we see the drone in the background certainly will have relayed that information. And we do see as well the addition of a bit of top floor presence. We saw the Sledge and the Fuse heading upstairs to rain some death down from above. And that's something we saw lacking for both teams when Viking Army was defending. There wasn't any top floor play here. So hopefully that will be able to clear some utility out. We've certainly seen how powerful it can be on this map. But so far, haven't... Oh, there we go. There's the first one. Not even from the top floor. Okay, just walking in.
Oh, that could have been a trade. Depot takes a lot of damage, but all the same wins the fight on the Jaeger, has moved to a bit more of a frag-heavy role here, which is probably good to see her on, given that she is a very aggressively minded player and finds those kills when given the chance. So probably a good call here from Fury. But the cluster charge is now going to work inside of the site. It's going to force Ambi into a bit of a corner here as explosive hell rains down on the kitchen from above, and Spud, the last 50 seconds now begin to elapse. Nares on the white stairs, looking good for some damage possibly, but it's actually Hazel to find one onto L. The opening kills of this execute. However, Ambi, nice headshot inside of Prep. Will get diffuser control as well, but People caught on the rotate. Hazel called out, make it a third. Finds Ambi as well, and it's all up to Psycho the last 30 seconds, opting to play for plant denial. The Echo drones are heard. The Halea not found. The drone now to deny. Bomb going down. Will get hit first. No, not found in time, and now Psycho in a 1v3. Oh!
Goodness, what a shot. Wasn't even off any info. Almost lands a second, but Hazel will clean things up. Managed to be a difference maker there on the flank from Red Stairs. Got 1-2 players, I believe, and certainly opened up that site a lot more, enabling that plant. So, well played there from Hazel, but I just have to wonder, could they have done that earlier, given that from the Fuse charges, they had pretty much cleared out, well, all of the kitchen area, all of that, yeah, the site where they planted, I believe, yeah, cooking or service, whatever. The point is, they could have done that a lot earlier. They still had the hard breach available, could certainly have just opened the wall and gone for a default plan. So, yeah, a bit slow on the timing, but they got there in the end.
Attackers need to locate.
Echo could have been
defuse
huge in that
bombs.
situation as well. I mean, the drone's not cleared out whatsoever. For Fury, could have been, could have been the round. Psycho definitely had the shot
Attackers
to
have
connect.
discovered the
So,
location of a bomb.
unfortunately, though, the drone was the only thing in that round that didn't connect. And yeah, Fury will lose the lead once more. Well, I mean, lose the draw once more, but okay. Yeah, Viking Army take the lead
10 seconds
once
to
again.
insertion.
And yeah, look,
5 seconds
going
left.
forward, they've been looking pretty good on this attack.
Attackers' objective
There's
is
been
to
a
defuse
surprising
bomb.
amount of memery going on here. Most of them are the same meme, but meme nonetheless.
This isn't, yeah.
Yeah. You get some more original memes, guys. Like, you need to be a little bit more
extended
different.
barrel?
Oh, extended barrel. Someone's been watching
Extended
the
barrel on the bar?
Yeah. Apparently, the extended barrel works on the shotgun as well. That is the play from Bikini Booty.
Okay. I guess. But L goes down, so extended barrel aside. VA have found the open kill onto the smoke, nonetheless. And again, once more, the switch drone going to work, get rid of that mute jammer. It's going to force out Peepo in record time here. 40 seconds, and Cafe is already completely forfeit by Fury. No real hold on it whatsoever anymore as they walk back on in to the kitchen bomb site for some tight, well, for the hope of safety here, Spud.
And the smoke being off the board does limit some of these these late plant denial options. Last time the echo didn't work, this time the smoke won't work as well. So they're really going to have to hold on to these positions and not aim to deny from elsewhere. But once again, vertical play finally coming in. It will be the fuck from above. Hasn't quite been able to catch anyone. Gone in the background as well. Will take a bit of damage as well. Hopefully these walls get opened up before it's too late.
Some damage dealt, but ultimately Zambi actually to find the kill as Ravana looks to get aggressive with the shotgun here. Swing on into threat. One player comes up close, but the one at the wall spotted. Ravi's going to be forced back into the site, hard side of the breach. Maybe not necessarily known. Ambi on the flank down red could be on for some kills here, but needs to check. We'll see the traces. Doesn't actually opt for the swing to give herself up just yet as Hazel finds Ravana. Damage dealt, all the same. Headshot lands. Ambi finds the first, and very late reaction from Viking Army here. A minute left to play. Not a long time, but Peepo from Freezer finds that headshot very quickly, puts them in a good position to walk away with it. Weird one with a down there to confirm. 50 seconds left. They're going to have to go for the plant, but it's Peepo again once more to claim the life of Gone. Weird one now to retrieve the diffuser and find the 1 versus 2. It's going to be difficult, but hasn't actually retrieved diffuser either, so it's opting for the kills.
Yeah, I don't think that's actually an intentional decision. I think she just missed it. But she does have a rough idea of where these players are. She knows one rough will be in Freezer, so certainly checking that angle. But with the second player still around, and of course it will be the Vigil, she hasn't quite been able to locate it. Plant almost goes down, does jump off it after hearing that sound prompt, but will find Peepo. And now it's a 1v1, but with time ticking down, and that's a very precarious position to be planting from. Psycho could easily find this. Jumps it. No way!
There's no way that is the way that they lose that round. That was... I was like, okay, yeah, if it's inside of the site, I can understand. It's in the middle of bakery on the floor. What has just unfolded before our very eyes, Bud? Fury going to call a tactical timeout, and quite rightly so, I'd imagine, given that that is just what happened. I mean, Psycho was looking so good for that. The fact that Weird One won that round arguably just should not have happened. I mean, the 2 versus 1 in that situation, getting off the plant with 8 seconds left to frag Peepo, and then the Claymore of all things, but that Claymore isn't there. Fury win that round any day of the week.
Yeah.
Psycho has that in the bag. I'm sorry. The Claymore in Cafe on the side of the breach that Psycho was walking up to and proceeded to not see it, vault into it. Round goes to VA. What a way to find yourself on match point. Fury, now trail by 2, have 2 rounds that they need to find to take us just to overtime, Spud. I mean, Viking Army are looking good to close this out.
I mean, not to beat a dead horse, right? But there are so many things that could have been done better there. Especially, I mean, considering that it was a 2v1, you're forcing them off the plant, you just take the 2v1 gunfight, you win. It's fairly easy. Like, oh no, not like this.
Bomb located by attack.
But Fury will be able to at least get a breath of fresh air. Take 45 seconds to at least break Viking Army's momentum, because certainly after that they will be feeling pretty pleased with themselves.
10 seconds left
6-4
before
up.
insertion.
Yeah,
5 seconds left.
Look, Spud, it happens to the best of people, unfortunately. You could be on for the best clutch of your career, and then something like that just unfortunately appears and puts an end to that very quickly. But it was a good attempt, all the same. And Fury were very close to walking away with it, but at the moment, Viking Army on match point, they're going to be relatively happy going forward into what could possibly be our final round for you.
yeah, certainly going to be challenging though, because Fury haven't been, pushovers of any sort. They fought very, very well all the way up to this point. It was just that last round, it was a bit of a fumble there. If it wasn't for that Claymore, we'd certainly be sitting at 5-5 now and be, even Stevens. It could be anyone. So I'm not quite ready to call this in favor of Viking Army. It will have to be about maybe another minute into the round, see whether any early picks come out. Especially now that the attack has really, once again, slowed down. 1 minute off the board, and, they haven't really made any progress here.
Yeah, none at all. Really, I mean, the Twitch again once more will be clearing out all of its utility, but only getting one Lamai disc there for what I believe was the drone traded out is, well, it's not the most cost-effective way to clear the utility, but either or. I guess some was cleared regardless. Peepo takes a considerable amount of damage from the white window and actually is now forced deeper into Cigar Lounge as Ambi now takes a considerable amount of damage as well. And there you go, caught on the cross. Viking Army played like a fiddle. Fury caught in the act of rotating, and this could be opening for compounding losses. L caught on cams as well, but I don't quite think Hazel realised there what she was shooting at. So unfortunate, but still.
Making their way now into this piano site, there is still that Pixel player to contend with and has been droned out now. However, does fall back, doesn't actually choose to take this fight given the situation she currently finds herself in. C4 goes out, doesn't quite connect, but here comes a utility dump burning out that shield. Finally, we didn't see it last time, but it looks like it is coming in here, but hasn't actually caught that shield. Does finally catch it now, but not Peepo with it, who is still hiding behind that reinforcement.
Attackers drop the diffuser.
30 seconds left. The Frost Mat connects. There you go. Weird one down. And the rest to come out. This could be big for Peepo, provided you can swing on out and find both of these kills. Will spot the head of one. Doesn't continue for the swing to confirm on the Frost Mat, though. So Weird One will be returned back to the fight. Very last moments of this round, 20 seconds. It's going to be 4 versus 4. Hazel to find L, deep inside of the site. Make it banner as well at the top. White Weird One to take down Peepo. And very quickly, for Fury, things fall apart. Psycho, the last alive. Nez needs to try and go for default, but it's all going horribly wrong. The Frost Mat there as well. Diffuser to be retrieved. Huge losses, but the bomb now going down. Psycho could go huge. Needs to get the denial with the Goyo canister prompt. It will be the denial. Fury. What has gone on there? Viking Army deciding to run through the fire, jump into the Frost Mat, and plant in the fire. Fury hold on for one more somehow. I'm lost, Spud. I'm lost. 2 players from Viking Army sprinting into the fire.
I don't know what to say. You
I
had
don't even know what. Yeah, I don't know what.
the entire site was free. You could have planted anywhere apart from that. They chose the one spot where you couldn't. Oh
Defenders protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
no!
Through the fire and the flames,
Except,
my life will go on.
except it didn't.
Located by attackers.
Except, yeah, it didn't. It stopped very abruptly. 3 people's lives stopped very abruptly through the fire and the flames. But I mean, Spud at the end of the day, it happens? Question mark. That was Viking Army's round. That was it. That was GG's, right? That was where it ended, or should have. But no, Fury hold on for
5
one
seconds
more.
left.
The Goyo clutching it out in the end as well. The bomb was literally like
Attackers are
half a
heading
second
out to
away from
defuse
being
a bomb.
planted as well. So had that bomb gone down, that could have even still been the round, but it would have been a 1v1 clutch. So That was a good giggle, Spud.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a bit of panic setting in there certainly was what I got from that. And look, we can excuse the Claymore. All right, we can excuse the Claymore from earlier because you're not going to be looking for
Yeah,
right?
we can let that one slide.
Yeah. This one, yeah. They're going to have to win this in order for us to let that slide, okay?
Imagine
Otherwise,
now.
oh no.
Imagine now, Spud, that Fury come back and win it. That would be the cherry on this cake right now. Very lopsided cake, albeit, but still the cherry. And look, either or. Not a real focus on Bakery this time so much for Viking Army. Ran to take a lot of damage inside of Coat, possibly from the Vault in from Gone, but the Vault back out very quickly subsequently to walk away. And Hazel, once more, to open things up. Rav will spot the head of the ace, but doesn't commit to the peak. And I mean, well, is going to commit to the Coat side of things, but end there to collect. There you go, Viking Army not messing around whatsoever. 2 kills in the opening minute and a half. Things looking a lot better than the previous.
Yeah, I think they did need that a little bit of aggression there. I mean, the previous round, Hazel pushing deep into side certainly opened things up. And now, of course, with those first 2 picks, things are a bit different now. So I would like to see a bit more aggression on their part. But so far, it seems they are doing just that. That's 3 picks for no trades. As much as we've seen trades tonight, this is when they need it. This is when Fury need to get those picks back. Because things are quickly falling apart. Yeah,
look, Bud, as much as you were saying it, I think we can go ahead and lock this one up for a flawless round to finish things off. Viking Army, no more mistakes. They are looking to end this one here. And even after the great efforts from Fury and the round that arguably did not belong to them whatsoever, FF's in chat, GG's as well. Viking Army are going to walk away with it 7-4. And 7-5, sorry. And yeah, other than that, really well done.
You know, just looking at the contrast between that round and the one before, you have to start to wonder whether they sat in that fire deliberately to kind of drag things out, have a bit of fun.
Maybe.
Because I could see that happening, right? Given the amount of beams we've seen, I could see that happening. And, you know, that was a really dominant round at the end. So I don't know where they've been hiding all that, you know, for the entire game. But certainly, if they had played like that, it would have been a lot quicker of a matchup.
Look, either way, Spud, that was a very interesting one regardless. I mean, we had memes, we had dreams, and we definitely had a good time casting that second match. But I mean, regardless of everything going on behind the scenes, I mean, we look at how things panned out for Viking Army. Playing with a sub to still walk away with the victory, obviously, is a big feat for them. Fury had a pretty good showing tonight, regardless of the outcome. I definitely think that give maybe another week or so, they will be contending up there. They are sitting relatively decently on the scoreline, if I'm not wrong, from what we saw since Playday number 1. So at the conclusion of Playday 2, that might be a different case. But at least going off of what we saw prior to the beginning of the evening, both of those teams, really good performances, regardless. I mean, memes, dreams, and hopes were definitely there, but it was a great game to watch. Regardless, it was very back and forth, which does open up the possibility of further interplay later on.
Yeah, of course, these teams will have to face once again later on in the season because this is a round robin dub where teams play against each other twice. So hopefully these teams will learn from their mistakes this time and be able to put on an even better showing next time. But yeah, certainly still a lot of games to be played. This is, after all, only week 2, and we will look forward to seeing more in the future.
Well, we do have the results from the other games for the evening, which we will delve into momentarily. Spud, here we are. So for round number 1, on stream, obviously, the very quick 7-0. Game number 2, off stream, Team Bliss 7-2 Viking Army. Benchwarmers go down 7-1 to Fury, and RDC close out 7-3 to Inferno.
For round 2, of course, Viking Army 7-5 against Fury. Team Bliss, once again in dominant fashion, 7-1 against Radical Rebels. Benchwarmers and Triarii Esports, pretty good game. They're 7-4 in favor of Benchwarmers. And finally, Inferno Gaming, 2 against Big Brain Esports, 7. So, judging from all of that, I'm seeing that I think the standings will be remaining pretty much the same, not too much shift in those positions. Granted, Big Brain Esports will be getting a big boost in terms of the round differential from their game against Triarii and Inferno Gaming. Same with Fury as well, doing a lot better in terms of those numbers. So maybe those two might see a bit of movement, but apart from that, I don't think things are going to be changing too dramatically as we've seen in some other leagues in the other side of the Pacific Ocean.
Yes, well, we will see the scoreboard updates at a different time, Spud. So keep your eyes out on the socials and whatnot for those. But other than that, we've had a pretty good evening here. I mean, the game's very, very solid. Obviously, we see, as you said, some very dominant showings in those score lines, both for the first and second round of the evening. So I think we're definitely going to have some interesting storylines going into Playdate number 3. Obviously, some of those roster swaps, player changes, even strategy changes, I guess we could even say, have looked really, really good. So going forward from that spot, I mean, other than everything else, memes aside tonight, final thoughts, I guess, for the evening.
Look, I think these two games overall, despite the scoreline, were really, really good games, right? We got to see some really good siege. We got to see a lot of back and forth as well. Some bit of humor to throw it all in there. So it was a good night. I had a good time. Certainly looking forward to the next time we cast, of course.
Well, keep your eyes peeled. Same time next week, different faces, of course. Blue Panda Cthulhu and Crips to return. Albeit, thank you very much to this season's sponsor, Popsugar. For the Unstoppable Women's League, once more, we will say goodnight and see you next week. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. Have a good one. See you later.